My name is Tamira Bowles, and I'm doing my last speech in class for oral communication. And my topic will be upon racism. When you think of the word racism, what do you picture? Black or white, Hispanic, Latino, maybe Vietnamese or Chinese, Japanese? Society has grown from babes to infants. And when I think of racism, I think of To Kill a Mockingbird by Harper Lee. It's a great story that took place in the Depression in Alabama, where a little girl named Jean Finch and her father, who was a lawyer called Atticus Finch, basically weren't the racist type of people in town. They actually believed that people of the same color, there's no difference. Well, there was a rumor in town about Boo Radley that he stabbed his father with a pair of scissors in his leg. So, of course, children will be children, and they decided to be curious and wanted to know what actually happened, why he's not coming out the house. So, they took some notes and tried to leave in his windowsill, and they tried to use a fishing pole to bring the notes to Boo, but Atticus caught them and reprimanded them to leave Boo alone. So one night, they decided to creep through his garden, well, around his house and around his property, that his brother fired his gun in the air because he thought it was a predator or somebody trying to sneak around the house, so it scared the children away. One of the children lost his pants in the garden and decided to come back the next day. And when he did come back the next day, they found the pants folded neatly. And other mysterious things started to happen. Unexpected gifts were brought to them. The tree that had a hole in it was patched up. And during the time, a trial was involved with Tom Robinson, who was accused of raping a poor white girl. The Finch family faced harsh criticism because Atticus decided to take upon the case to defend Tom, but he knew a white jury would not believe a black man. Towards the end of the story, the truth was Mayella, the poor white girl I was talking about, invited Tom to the house and began kissing on him. Like Joseph did in the Bible, Tom fled. And when her husband, Bob Ewell, arrived, he beat her senseless. This was presented to the court as well as a jury, and yet Tom was found guilty. Atticus tried for an appeal, but Tom tried to escape and was shot to death. And that shocked Jean a little bit more because she had never faced a reality of having a black man shot in front of her face. So during the Halloween time, of course during Halloween children get dressed up as whatever character, so she decided to be dressed as a pumpkin, I believe. So the Atticus children were walking down the alley late at night when Bob Ewell, follows them and attempts to kill them with a kitchen knife, a large kitchen knife. Boo Radley came by their side and defended for them and stabbed Boo Ewell. Her brother couldn't defend himself because Bob Ewell basically dislocated his arm, so he can't defend himself. And poor Jean was in a costume that she couldn't see too well, so she was hopeless. And if it wasn't for Boo Radley, both the children would possibly be killed. So when the sheriff came, the story was told to him about what happened, and the sheriff thought of a brilliant idea to say that Bob Ewell fell on the knife, so he committed suicide to leave Boo Radley alone as a hero. And so Jean walked Boo Radley to the house. He went in the house and he came back no more. So racial profiling is widespread, says Laney Guthrie in his book 12 Angry Men. The long chain of confrontation of color not only dehumanized African imports in shackles and sold at auctions, but it also displaced and uprooted Native Americans. Racial profiling is the end of the wedge of our misuse of the criminal justice symbol as a major instrument of urban social policy. Edward Rosario opposed racial profiling doesn't work. Empirical studies shows that when police use race or ethnic appearance as a factor in law enforcement, their effectiveness in apprehending criminals decreased. I got that from his article. As well, I began to dig deeper as statistics report that 45% of black children live below the poverty line, compared with 16% of white youngsters. Most NCAA universities refused to release attrition rates for athletes. There are more black men in jail than in college. And as I began to, as I thought about taking the topic of racial profiling, I was thankful that I had never faced the fact of racism in my time, but in my parents and my grandparents' parents' time, they have. And my mother told me stories how they have, well, she has been transported from one school to the other when they were integrating and segregating at the time. And she taught me as a young child that you know who you are in Christ. That no matter what words they say about you or what slandering they say about your name, that you are God's child. That your name is Tamira, not the N word, not Negro, not African American. Your name is Tamira. That is what you have been given as a name. It is not what people call you, is what you respond to. And as I grew up and I started to understand a little bit more what my mother said, it made sense. And when people start calling me names, I know not to respond to it because that's not me. And also, statistics can say what they want to say about any of us, but we have a right not to be a statistic. We have a right to actually prove statistics wrong, that no, black people are not below the poverty line at all, that we have chose that route and this is our decision. Just as white people, just as Hispanics, just as Vietnamese, Chinese, it is what the path that we have chosen that will make statistics believe that this is the reason why we are part of statistics, and that's why the rates are increasing. I believe that I am not a statistic. I am a college student who will be graduating, the Lord's willing, next year with no children until I get married, single, with a right mind and a right sound mind in Christ Jesus. And I'm glad to say I'm not a statistic. If I was a statistic, statistics would have said that I am a average black woman or teenager or an early adult at this time, having a child or two, working two or one job just to raise my child or children, and be like the others, drop out of college just to feed my family. I know I'm not a statistic, and I won't be a statistic. The only statistic I will be is God and God's statistics. That I will follow His plans to continue on my education, be married if that's His will, and have